Welcome to the narrowboat that James built. Hope you're well. Thanks for joining me. Fireplace, electrics, leather, steps. Let's crack on. The fireplace really needs to be sorted out. The view of it that you get from the galley hatch just looks dreadful. The hearth I can kind of make my peace with once it's cleaned up. That's not too bad. But obviously the surround is incomplete, and I'm going to go on with ideally I'd like to tile that with mosaics, but I'm not really going to get to do that just yet. I'd like to get it to a point that it looks finished, so I'm going to put a covering on this, and the covering I'm going to use is this stuff. This is vinyl stick-on stuff, and it looks like black and speckled and shiny, so my issue is the adhesiveness of this on that stuff. My issue is not the heat of that melting that, because there is just no heat or significant heat, even when that's on full pelt. There's no heat really up round here, so it might warm it, but it's not going to melt it. Ooh, this might actually work. I don't know if it's going to stay in place. I quite like that. I like the pattern in it and the reflection. Obviously it'll have to have some trim down there and down that side and something on the top. But yeah, I quite like the reflection of that. I think the stainless steel stove ahead of the black works well. The problem that doesn't work well is this. I've split it because this, you can see it's all a bit wrinkled. It doesn't look very good up close. So I'm going to have to come up with another plan for this. I'm going to have to leave the fireplace for the time being because Rob has kindly come round to help me install and commission the AC electrics on this boat finally. And the first job to do is to install the consumer unit and the plug sockets around the boat. This is the unit I've gone for, which is a all-in-one RCD and MCBs, and it's IP. It's got kind of waterproofing protection, not that it needs it, but yeah, so I've got the RCD there at 63 amps, and then I've got 6 circuits. So I've got 3 at 6 amps, 1 at 16 and 2 at 20. This is just going to be AC1 out. That is the area I have designated for it, and then once it's installed I can tidy up some of these wires, and it's going to be fed into the multi plus 2. Our consumer unit is all wired up. Right, here's the install in the electrics cupboard. This is all positioned under the air fryer, so it's quite easy to access. And inside, so you've got the master RCD there, so that trips if there's ever a problem with one of these. And then the 3 circuits I've got in, one is the dedicated immersion heater, which goes into that one there. That's off at the moment because I haven't connected up on the immersion. This one there is the galley, that's on, and this one here is the bow AC, and that's off at the moment. So these two are the big ones, which is the galley and the immersion heater. So those on the 20 amps. The bow is on the 16 amp and the others are 6. So I don't know what I'm going to use those for, maybe just TV or lighting or something like that. But now I want to test it all works. The multi-plus is connected to AC1 only. Now we can fire up. So the inverter is on. The switch is under there. It's got 2 on, so it's got the charging on and then the main on. So I'm just going to leave it on the main on. And in terms of on the Acrano, it's all here. So you'll see here DC power coming in. That's actually the MPPT, so that's a solar, and it's still on bulk charge. So yeah, that's the solar coming in. So I've got 387 watts coming in. It shows the batteries at 100%, and AC loads, that's just the inverter being on at 9 watts. So what I want to do is just check that certain things work and that I'm not going to blow anything up if I draw quite a bit of power. And the hobs are connected, not to an EcoFlow for the first time ever, they are connected to the boat. I'll put it on 7, that's quite a quick boil. And you'll see now the AC load is taking 1100 watts. So now there's 450 going in to the batteries and 1100 coming out of the batteries. Now what I want to do is store all my batteries, these power stations. I want to put them away, but I want to put them away pretty much full of charge, so if I need them, they're there for me. So I've plugged this one into that socket there in the galley, which is for the washing machine predominantly, but also a spare plug here for anything else. So let's do this. It's all plugged in, so let's see. I've set it to 700. Now something's making a noise over here. Oh, the inverter's making noise, I haven't had that before. And what's it taking out? 730 watts. Okay, happy days. That'll charge in an hour. So I'm kind of using this like a solar dump because obviously the battery's at 100% because the solar's done its job, so the solar panels are turned off. Now I'm going to be filling up the EcoFlow. It's going to be obviously taking that power and putting it into the EcoFlow. But obviously the sun's still shining, so it'll top it back up. This is all pretty encouraging. Basically the Delta has got 31% in it now, and it's taken 4% out of the main batteries, and obviously there's 500 and something watts going into them, but I didn't really know how it was all going to behave and how much the Delta corresponded to the size of the bank and everything. So yeah, this is all pretty good. So that on that calculation I'll be able to fill this up today, and the panels still and the battery still be at 100% at the end of play, which is cool, isn't it? Okay, the EcoFlow is full, and the Accordions telling me that it's taken it down to 85%. There's now 700 watts of solar going back into it, so give it a couple of hours and it'll be full again. Happy days. Okay, take 2 of the Fireplace surround, and yes, you guessed it, more leather. You know what, that's pretty good. I'm happy with that. Obviously you've got to put some trim around it and stuff, but that's nice. It goes around the tap quite nicely. Got to make a couple of holes in it so I can get the pipe work for the heater done when I get around to doing that. But I'm thinking I might put the remainder of that speckledy stuff, I might stick it to the base of that, because that's dirty now and it doesn't look good, and those are proper stains. So yeah, I'm going to do that, see what it looks like. You know what, this is going to work. I'm sure there are people that are going to say this is a stupid material to use near a fire, and look, this is going to get warm, the leather, there's no doubt about it, but this is certainly not. It's stone cold up to here. There's no heat really on there. The bit near the flue gets a bit warm, but not really. But I want to lay this properly, so it does mean taking the stove out, which is just disconnecting a couple diesel lines. Right, let's do this. Oh yes, I'm loving that. Right, let's get the fire back on. I've soldered my light connections up so they kind of fit like that now, and I've put the lights all the way down to, well, basically right to the end. So now I need to put my covering on this wall here, and this is what I'm going to be using. This makes it all nice and padded. So I've filled up all the holes with spray foam. Oh, yeah, I'm loving the look of that. Right, this is all on. Now I can get the leather on. Okay, it's getting there. It is really warm working in here today. Okay, so underneath the gunnel now, I've got that wadding stuff, which is going over the lamps. And then the leather is stapled to there. You can't really see it unless you're bending down at this level, which no one's really going to do. But if I do find it offensive, I will put some trim covering all of that stuff. But importantly, if you were just to touch underneath there, which people will do, run their hands underneath it, it's all quite soft and padded and definitely not offensive. So that's pretty good. I had kind of a few conundrums with regard to how I'm going to kind of finish all that area. So yeah, pretty happy with that. I'm really happy with how that fireplace looks. Obviously, once it's got the finishing bits of timber around it, that really kind of brings out the stove. I'm liking that, as I'm liking the lighting down here. The plinth needs a bit more varnish being put on it, and right down that end it needs profiling, but that is really nice. It's the wrong lights. I've got to change these lights. These are the kind of a bit bluer, so those are a different colour to these, so I need to change that. These aren't on, by the way, but yeah, that's excellent. That just looks really complete. I don't know, that is just lovely. I'm really happy I'm going for this leather. At £10 a metre, I think that's like 40 quid just to get all that done. It's kind of like instant decorating. And it's just lovely. Yeah, it gives a nice feel to the boat. This area of the boat's been knocking me off for ages. And it's an important part, so let's get this done. I'm loving the look of that. It's all gone behind the cupboard there, so when I do put some trim on, that little bit kind of cover it up nicely. But yeah, that looks really good. Obviously there'll be a bit of skirting down there to cover that bit. But yeah, that's cool. There's going to be a thing covering the front of that step, and that step's got to move back quite a bit. I've run out of all of this sapele to carry on the stripping across there, and then the wide one up there. But yeah, this has gone quite nicely so far. Now I need to lop off the corner of that. Okay, next up is the bedroom. As you can see, I filled that hole with spray foam. I can lop that off. I need to put leatherette down there. I need to put some sapele-esque trim on it. I say sapele-esque because I've decided to give this a go. This is just rubbish pine, but after 4 or 5 coats of the varnish, that's actually come out all right. And from a glance like that, that's going to look just the same as all the other ones. That little corner has provided so much grief getting in and out, and now just removing that tiny bit has made it so much easier. Now I need to sort out these steps and sort this bit out as well. So obviously that's only 9mm and it's a bit flimsy. Steps wise, I'm thinking about cleaning them up and staining them walnut. Here's some of that pine, which has actually come out all right. I've chosen a bit where the grain's quite nice for that little bit there. Then I'm going to do a bit there. Got to put the leather on there, and then I've got to think about somehow managing to put the trim around there. I'm not sure I like this. I do in some way because it feels really luxurious and it's all quite nice to look at. But it looks a little bit mock Tudor in a way. I'm sure I'll get used to it, but I think what it needs is for the steps to be cleaned up and stained. I think that would actually look pretty good. I'm not sure if I should extend that one down. I'm not sure really. I should have probably done all the leather in one piece, but I didn't. Anyway, yeah, quite happy with that. The illumination underneath. Yeah, happy days. I've put the edge banding on this cupboard door. I now need to stain it and make it look good. I've got to do the same with that one there. I've never had doors on these two, so it's going to look good. I got that bit drying, and so this means I'm going to be able to slide the step out. I don't know if you can see it, yeah. So I'm going to put another piece of 9 down there, so it's going to leave a groove down here so I can slide the step out. Well, I've cleaned that up and I've pushed it back quite a bit further, which is nice because it means then when there's the back on this step, obviously so you don't see any of that stuff, this overhangs that. So from the top it looks good. Same with that one there. Right, now I'm going to put some stain on that one. And after 2 coats, they're looking like this, which is lovely. There's one more coat to go, but you'll see on some of these, that's not a good example. This one is, because this is butch block, it kind of is splitting there. You can actually see daylight through that one. So I think once I get the desired colouring on the top, I think I'm going to apply some table coat resin to all of this top bit, let it kind of seep through those gaps, and hopefully it'll just kind of bond the whole thing together better. Yeah, that's a lot better, that colour. Obviously it's the contrast with that and that is nice, but I think it needs to go a bit darker. So I'm going to let them all dry and then go on with the 4th coat. Right, I've put a 4th coat on these, brought them into the bedroom so I can put some resin on them. I'm hoping I'll have enough just to do a coat on all this, let it run down the sides, fill in all those gaps. Should be all right. Okay, this is all the resin I got left, and the quantity is basically 50% hardener to resin, so it's 2 to 1. So I'm probably going to end up with about 700 grams in total, which I'm hoping is going to be enough to cover it all. Right, I've got best part of 380 grams of resin. I did say I was going to do this clear, but I'm going to put a little bit of that black shimmer graphite thing, which I know just is quite nice. So I put a little bit of that in just to darken the resin a little bit. That should do. Okay, so I'm not damming the sides of this, unlike I did with the worktop. I'm just going to put a small amount on, really, brush it in and let it harden. Yeah, you see that's pretty translucent. That is what I wanted. Right, let's just brush this all in now. As long as it's all coated. Oh my god, I think that's gone over my mattress. As long as it's all coated, then it'll be fine. I just don't want any kind of to run off anywhere. I think this is going to work nicely. Gives a nice shine to it, that's for sure. Right, let's work this one in. I'm not so sure this is going to work. Obviously, some of it's seeping in. I mean, it's going to work in terms of, I think it's going to protect the steps, but I don't think it's going to be the nicest of finishes. But I think I might mat it down, because otherwise it's going to be, I think it's going to be slippery as heck. But you'll see that one there, it's not, yeah, I'm not sure about this. I'll have to see what it's like when it's finished. But at a glance, looks pretty good. Oh shit. It's reacted with the varnish, obviously. That has seriously not worked. Damn. Not sure what I can do about this. Oh my word. Okay, so a couple of things. Firstly, they're not slippery, which is remarkable. I thought they'd be like ice rinks. But I've gone for the hammer eyes effect. They look soaking wet. They're not, obviously. They're nicely hardened. I mean, I don't know. They don't look horrific, but at the same time they don't look good. But I have managed to, I reckon, elongate the life of these steps. They were going to have to be chucked out anyway, really, because they were going to break. So maybe I've just bought myself a few more months. I'm not sure. Looks much better though in that colour. Like at a glance, that does look better. Right, I need to tidy up this galley. Alrighty, so leather down there with lighting, leather up there and onto there. This is all looking pretty good. That took me ages to get that underneath there, so I didn't have any seam. Obviously there's a seam there, so I've got to get some sapele to go down that bit, as I do down the length of there. But yeah, this is taking shape. I've still got quite a lot of electrics to tidy up. I'm still doing some electrics around the bow. I've got some on the outside of the boat. This looks actually really good. Check this out. So I've just got the electrics, the lights underneath the gunnels, but it really illuminates the front of the boat nicely. I'm going to be putting some leather on that wall there. I think I'm going to carry on that strip across there and do it in two colours. I might do the blue down there to match the duvet and things, and obviously that's where your head's going to be, so I don't really want it on the white, and then do white up there. That'll look pretty cool, I think. No, I'm kind of going hell for leather. Oh, excuse the pun. I'm using it everywhere, and as I've mentioned like a few times, it is good value for money, 10 quid a metre, because all of this stuff was the offcut from doing all this. So, yeah, it kind of really doubles up. These two doors here, because they provide access to the batteries and the electrics and various bits like that. I can't open, well, that one I could hinge that way and open out. But that one is going to be on magnets, because then it's, whatever way it hinges, it's going to be awkward. And if I just push it out of the way entirely. Come on. Yeah, this is where I'm storing my big power stations. So they're not easy to get in and out, to be honest, and certainly it's going to make it harder if it's got hinges on it. So I'm just going to make that go in with magnets on that one, and then that one, yeah, I think will probably also be magnets. I've still got to stain the sides of that, but this whole area is looking pretty good now, except the steps. These look dreadful. I had someone come on board earlier and she stood there and said, "Oh, I can't get down, your steps are soaking wet, I'm going to slip." And I said, "No, they're not soaking wet. It's just that I didn't take into account that the varnish is water-based and the epoxy resin will react badly to it, and that is the result." So I think, though, if I was to have more epoxy resin and put more on, I reckon that might work, because it's kind of coated it, but we'll see. The other thing with this whole area is I've probably wiped this down maybe 10 times over the weekend, just from footprints and stuff. Loads of dust gathers in there. There's a tree over there, and all the shit just blows straight in down there, and that just looks awful. So it's got to be basically constantly cleaned, all this leather, but only in this area. I'm hoping around the boat is, well, I'm not doing it anywhere around the boat at all. So I'm only kind of cleaning here, like footprints off there and markings and things, but that's all right. I've got to say, I do love the look of it. It just feel, it's brilliant, certainly in the bedroom. And in terms of electrics, I haven't really used that much. I haven't wired in my immersion heater yet, so I've got to do that. But everything else is working a treat. So, and I've charged all my power banks and stuff. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. There's a few more bits to do before I can put the cupboard back on, or make a cupboard door for this, and kind of move on from the electrics. But thank you so much for watching. Until next time, take care. Bye bye.